Joining me as always is Eddie, Great Cap V.
I have come back from
Retail death. I think Eddie froze.
Yep.
Eddie, yeah,
I spoke
Eddie
too
froze.
soon.
What's up? It's another episode of World 1-1 Podcast. Before we start, let's get through the usual bullshit. You can find us at our home on shoutengine.com. Subscribe on Google Play Music and iTunes. You can also check out the currently under construction YouTube and Twitch channels. And you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and all that other nonsense. So with all of that good stuff out of the way,
choose your fighter!
I am your host, Larry the Bearded Wonder. Joining me, as always, is Eddie Grey Cap V.
Hello, everybody. I am back. Yeah.
He didn't freeze this time!
I didn't crash this time.
I should have called you Eddie Mr. Freeze V.
The way that it's called in Illinois, yeah.
And Josh the LeGrew.
Hey, everybody.
So.
Oh my gosh!
Video games. Eddie, you've been missing for a couple weeks. We'll start with you. What the fuck have you been playing?
Where should I start? Well, for Xbox One, I've been playing Forza Horizon 4. Gonna do more than that. Actually popped in Homefront the Revolution. Everybody knows this is the game that's been delayed many a times. Has a history of development. But I ended up getting the game for free. So I decided, let me just start playing it. It's not bad. It's not like, oh, wow, this is a failure or so many levels. It's not that bad. It is playable, and it's kind of those games that you can just fool around and be like, hey, if I die, I'll just try again. It's nothing big or nothing major. It looks like a 360 game still, but it's not such a bad game. Like if you can rent it or someone give it to you like for fun, I say give it a try because, like I said, it's not bad. After that, with PS4, I've been playing Bloodborne. Getting further into that, play some more of Devil May Cry 4, and I have come to the conclusion that this game is trash. It is utter garbage.
I know somebody listening that's going to be real upset with you for that.
Well, guess what? You'll just be upset. This game is utter trash.
What's so bad about it?
They messed up the camera angles because it's fixed camera angles. If you fall into a certain pit, you have to fight all of these enemies, and it has to respawn. Well, because there are times that your lock-on technique will force you to do something, or it won't lock on, it'll drop you because of the camera angle. So you have to do a lot of backtracking, and with that camera angle, it's just like you can't see certain areas of the level. So if you'll keep falling at parts and stuff, definitely when you're supposed to make this thing, you got the devil arm, that's what makes you supposed to grab and get to other platforms. Well, because of the camera angles being so bad and with the fixed camera, you can't see it, so when you grab it, it'll throw you off instead of just throwing you automatically. So it's very problematic. The fights are really boring. I would say this, for anyone who played DMC Devil May Cry or people who shame DMC Devil May Cry, if you accept Devil May Cry 4, I feel bad for you on so many levels. Because DMC Devil May Cry has got it so much right, and it makes what Devil May Cry is fun. And it just showcases that, I don't know what Capcom was thinking. And yes, I'm trying to get through it so I can be ready for Devil May Cry 5. But I'm just like, DMC Devil May Cry is way better than the last 4 games that I played in the Devil May Cry series. So,
all right,
Devil May Cry 4 is just utter trash. And I guess I got the PS4 like special edition, and it looks horrible. It just looks so bad. I'm like, this thing is super dated. Yes, it is for a PS3 game, but I'm just like, when you look at this game and then you look at DMC Devil May Cry, there's no comparison. That DMC just looks so much better in every way. So I've been playing, trying to make my way through that. Played a little bit more Guacamelee on PS4. Trying to get ready for Guacamelee 2 for Switch. That they just announced the date, so getting ready for that. Played Bad North on my Switch. Kind of enjoyed it. That's a pretty fun game. You kind of got to be aware of
Bad North. It's kind of on my list.
You kind of got to be aware of what's going on, and I can understand why I got some 7s and 7.5s and stuff. But it's a real cool game. It's very chill, very funny, and really good to look at. I forgot. Sorry. And I'm playing Devil May Cry 4 on PS4, I should say, and Guacamelee on PS4. One more for PS4. Also went back and played BioShock. Working through that, and I'm doing it easy. Like I said, I'm doing easy, and I'm being evil. So I'm taking all of the girls' powers and stuff, and using the atom and using it for myself. So. Oh,
you're killing all the little sisters?
Yeah. I'm killing
How can you do that? You must have no soul.
Sick bastard.
You must have no soul.
Because I already beat it. PS4.
Right. Okay.
There's no point to it though either. That's the thing, is that like end run, you get more Adam if you don't kill them.
It's the trophy or the achievement.
Well, that'd be probably on the second play. But like I said, I already beat it before, so I know how the game ends. I'm just trying to get the bad ending to this game, so I'm just taking all of their powers and stuff, or their Adam. So, but that's what I've been playing on. That was, I am going to get back into Neo and Persona 5. Going to be jumping back on there, and Horizon Dawn, so I can get the platinum for that. So I will be jumping a little bit more back into PS4. Like I said, for Switch, played Bad North. Also playing some more Yoku's Island Express. I'm pretty much almost done with it. I got to get some more stuff, and then I'll be finished with that game. And hopefully I'll return to it so I can get 100% to it. But just making my way through that. Play some more Just Shakes and Beats. Just loving that game. Just love hearing the beats and get into a flow that I got to try once again once I die. So really enjoying that. Play Warframe also on Switch. Really liking that game, and I could see Destiny 2 working on Switch for it. I think Destiny 2 could be a good game for Switch. Play a little bit more of Diablo 3, the Eternal Collection, working on that, and that's pretty much it. I beat this game called Night Slashers. I played it definitely on the TV, ended up beating it there too. My R-Type compilation will be probably released after you guys hear this episode. So probably on next episode I'll talk more about that, because it's not available. I pre-purchased it, but it's not available to play yet. So waiting for that. Which
R-Types are on that?
R-Type 1 and 2, the arcade versions. Yeah. So I'm trying to get some more arcade games on Switch, and trying to get some arcade games on Xbox One, even though I did just buy Saints Row the 3rd and Witcher 2 on Xbox One. Hopefully going to be playing that. In Darksiders 3, I'm trying to get this weekend, and then Just Cause 4 and Smash next weekend I'm going to be getting. to play. But and then I think I should be caught up with most of the games for 2018 that I could say is a must play. Battlefield 5 I'm waiting for next year, even though it's $30. But I'm waiting for next year for everything to be like finished and released. So, but that's pretty much what I've been playing. Yeah, and Destiny 2 I've been playing on Xbox One. I finished the Curse of Osiris DLC, so I'm just trying to get to the next DLC. So yeah, I played that too.
I'm actually kind of curious to hear your thoughts when you get into it on Darksiders 3, because we've got a listener and a friend of mine that loves Darksiders. Like, dropped $400 on the special edition that came with the Vulgrim statue.
Yeah,
like that kind of love. And I'm kind of like, I know I'm gonna hear like super in depth, and I'm looking forward to it. In-depth breakdown on Darksiders from him, but I'm also kind of curious just to hear your slightly more casual take on it too, just to have the comparison.
I think my take is going to be more of the storyline. I still feel like it's stupid on what they did with it, but when I get the game and play it and like go through it, I'll see if it makes sense or something, because I kind of don't like how it feels so recon that what they did about it.
So right on. And Josh, the hell have you been playing?
Oh, not much. Just Red Dead. That's it. I'm like I was saying, I'm 30% of the way through. Just started chapter 3 on the story, so I have quite a ways to go yet. I know, and I already know Eddie is not really too thrilled with the game, but I love it. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
It's literally turned into a debate now. Like, people are just wondering, does this game really deserve Game of the Year nomination, and for what reason? A lot of people are saying, like, nope, like God of War is not being debated or anything. I think everybody said what they had to say with that. But Red Dead 2, a lot of people are split on this game. I don't think it deserves a Game of the Year nomination at all. But I kind of like, if I had to say God of War versus Red Dead Redemption, I would go God of War.
I think that argument comes up every time Rockstar puts out a new game, though.
Right.
That's kind of their MO, is like big, huge game, does a little bit of everything, but doesn't do anything particularly well. That's just their...
The problem, not even the problem, but like Red Dead 2 is that there is so much to do that it doesn't really force you to do it. You know, you can play it or you don't have to. It is an open world. It's just kind of it's almost a little different. To me, it really feels a lot like Zelda, just in the way that it kind of just drops you there.
But I think
a lot of people, I think, are just having problems, or they just don't. Maybe they don't really like that. You know,
it's not. Well, I know some people like the game to be slow. They kind of like the pace of it. But I feel like a lot of this stuff is pandering, and it feels like it's, in a sense, that it's lost in its story, and it's lost in its gameplay mechanics. And I know me and you, Josh, we talked about this video.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Yeah.
But it's just a lot of people have come to the conclusion that they have to force themselves to finish it because of the pandering. It feels like it's pandering and it's dragging. And
I definitely see that there is spots where it's especially in chapter 2 where where it felt like I didn't really know what the story was or where it was going. So and part of it is because it is just like it's not really pushing you to keep going in that, you know, in a direction. At least for me, it wasn't.
And I think if they wouldn't, that's why I said I think if this game was like a level-based game for its story, like, you know, you just got 15 chapters and stuff, and it just told a complete story that way, I think people would enjoy Red Dead Redemption 2. I think it's just like the way that it's designed with it's a plan or some scheme that somebody has, often just goes along with it, and then at the end there's always a shootout or something. There's never a point that it changes that. If we did something very sneaky and stuff, we should be able to get out without no problems. I think the only time that I did it, and you may come across it, so I don't want to really spoil it, is that you kind of gotta do a robbery in a sense.
Okay.
And I'm gonna leave it at that. So if you get to it, you'll be like, okay, I understand. I understand how to go about this and what it does. And if they did more something like that, it would be fine. But yeah,
it does seem a very methodical way they're doing things, and it's like it does repeat over and over.
Yeah.
Like each mission is pretty much it's like an eternal fetch quest almost.
Yeah, and it's just like everything. It feels like everything that you do for this quest is for the quest and stuff doesn't benefit the camp, and it doesn't benefit the story.
Yeah,
it's
there are
like,
definitely some problems that I'm personally just enjoying it. I'm enjoying my time in it. I like taking my time with it. So for me, the speed of the game is not really a problem. At least not right now. Even though I've got a lot of other games I want to play. You know. Hopefully be done with it by Christmas.
Same here.
The way I'm going, you know.
I'll find some interest to finish that, to finish Red Dead to get back into it. But yeah, I'm just trying to catch up on some other stuff. But yeah.
Right on. So you give up on Dragalia Lost then?
Haven't totally given up on it. I just put it away for a while. I'm thinking I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to have to pay, and that's gonna break me with it. I don't think I'm going to pay anything.
I'm a little surprised. Like if I had gotten that much enjoyment and that much time out of it for no charge, I wouldn't hesitate to throw a few bucks at it.
I mean, I don't mind throwing a few bucks at it. I'm just thinking, I don't know. Personally, I don't know how much more time I'm going to actually invest in it. So I don't even know if throwing a few bucks would, spur me on to keep playing. I've kind of gotten, I haven't really gotten to the end of it or anything. I just gotten to the point where I felt kind of like, yeah, maybe I'll just take a little break. Come back to it,
No, I can understand that. I mean, even if I didn't go back to it, just me personally, like my personal ethics.
Yeah, I a few bucks.
I stress that this is my personal ethics on the subject, not that I'm trying to push it to anybody else. But I've for a long time now very much been in the mindset that, if I enjoyed it and, even if it was free, I'd like to throw a few bucks at it to show my appreciation and encourage them to keep doing what they're doing, because obviously they did something I fucking liked.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm thinking I'll probably do that, even if I don't play it. But I'm just, I just want to take a little break from it to see if I just take a break for a week or two, come back, and I'll maybe kind of get more into it again.
Right. I hear you. Anything else then?
No, not really. I lead a pretty boring life, so.
That's all right. So do all the rest of us, except for Eddie. Eddie leads a secret life as a male.
He doesn't sleep.
So,
I cannot deny or confirm. I plead the fifth.
Let's see here. I put some more time into Dead Cells, which should come as a shock to nobody. That's kind of like my I don't. Yeah, it's one of those that just kind of helps get me in the mood to start playing other shit. So that was kind of my jumping off point to pick back up with Undertale again today. I found myself with a lot of useless time on my hands, and I am right at the end of Undertale. I'm right up against Flowey, and I'm not gonna. Let's see here. No, it's old enough. We can talk spoilers. I just didn't want to go too much into it without Kathy here, because I really wanted, I really wanted to bounce some stuff, some thoughts on it off of her as well. since she had a full run through of it and really dug it. And I know she's got some thoughts on it too, and she's kind of been dying to have this conversation. But yeah, that Flowey fight, what the fuck? Jesus! Like, this game is all kind of like muted and super chill, and then Flowey comes out and you've got like a straight up R-type boss on your hands. It is all bullet hell insanity. Like, your menu, there's no more turn-based anything. Your menu pieces start, like your menu selection choices start occasionally flying around on the screen, and you've got to like wade your way through all the bullets flying to get to it, to try and like take a turn and potentially do some damage, as this thing is like hurling flamethrowers and shit at you, takes up 3/4 of the fucking screen.
Wow.
Like, good God. And all in like big like photorealistic full color and like nightmare fuel insanity kind of thing too, with that weird like fucking scream thing going on in the background. That
So it just goes nuts.
Yeah, it really does. This game is, like I said, this game is like somebody's fucking ADHD. It really is. It can't make up its mind, and it just wants to do everything. Like, 1 minute it's like, I want to be a puzzle game, and the next, we're going to be turn-based RPG, because I'm going to be, oh, fuck, we're going to be weird and quirky now, and just, like, peculiar. So, I don't understand social cues. So, yeah, it's a weird fucking game. And I will say, though, I finally got to the point where all the interesting story stuff was, but it was literally all condensed together in like one section that has nothing to it except story delivery. Like, you're working your way up to, you're literally just walking your way to the last boss, and
it's just dumping the story on you.
Yeah. And honestly, it's doing it in a way that was really kind of annoying. Like, as you're walking along, the game does some light random encounter stuff. You'll get a little bit of that throughout the game, but it does it in a way where it's like, you're gonna have random battle, and instead the enemies just start talking exposition to you, and you know, it interrupts the flow, and I don't know, it didn't sit well with me. Like, that irked me a little bit, just the way it delivered it.
Sure.
But like I said, I at least got to the story stuff that really interested me, that I was looking forward to. I would have really appreciated it more, though, had it been sparsed out throughout the game,
right,
and better expounded upon, because there's some really cool lore there that they just go, here it is. That made me sad. And as we discussed before we got started, I played some, and I'm currently playing some Race the Sun, because it was free with Games with Gold this month, and it looked interesting, and it's a nifty little infinite runner game. Isn't even quite the right thing. It's close to, you know, it's just a go fast obstacle course sort of thing, but I'm really enjoying it. I like the visuals. It's very stark, not quite full blown monochromatic, but it's bordering on that. Very basic visuals, lots of grayscale and very cubey and just geometric shapes. But it's pretty. The music's fun. It's enough to keep me interested. It's a good palate cleanser.
Right.
But I would totally sink time into this on my Switch. I know that Limited Run Games did a release of Race the Sun for PS4 and Vita as well. I really wish they would do some Xbox One stuff on Limited Run, but I have a feeling there's licensing issues there somewhere. But that's most of what I've been playing. We've got, by the time you guys hear this, there will be a new unboxing up I haven't gotten to do it yet, and it's going to be tomorrow as of this recording, but yesterday as of posting. We've got a unboxing for the special edition of Thumper coming up. My box finally came in the mail, and it's the outside is super pretty. I am all kinds of excited to crack this bad boy open and get into the guts of it and see what else in the box, and share that with you guys. So that aside, just a quick note of housekeeping too. I meant to put this at the front of the show. For everybody and anybody that subscribes to us either on their RSS feed or iTunes or Google Play or anywhere the audio show goes up, I want to apologize. We didn't mean to explode your feed with like the same episode 8 different fucking times. We're having an argument with our hosting site, and we're looking at some options on migrating the show to a less troublesome host. So keep your ears peeled. In the next couple weeks, we'll likely have some news as to what to expect and where to go and where we're moving. For any of you that are subscribed to us on iTunes and Google Play, if I do it right, you shouldn't even notice any difference. For anybody that gets us on their RSS feed by way of Shout Engine, I'm going to do my damnedest to see if I can just migrate the RSS feed so you don't have to do anything to change that either. So we're working to try and mitigate the damage, as it were, to make it as easy as possible for you. And of course, to keep an eye on the Facebook page and the Twitter page. When the change happens, we'll make sure we're posting up links to the new host site if you go that route to get your weekly entertainment from our nonsense. So I figured I'd give you a heads up. It was a total error, and I apologize. I didn't mean to spam anybody's feed full of crap. So that being said, that's all I've been playing, and that means this is a good time to say break. And we're back. So this week we're going to go and deep dive into a subject that I've kind of been itching to dig in on for the last couple weeks. This week we want to take a look at the topic of innovation versus inclusivity and accessibility. So some of my thoughts on this came about as of recent. There's been some chatter with the release of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, and the fact that the games are forcing the implemented motion controls. And this isn't the first time that Nintendo's done this or been at the center of this issue. It just happens to be the most recent. But I really think it kind of merits highlighting, or it's more highlighted by the fact that Microsoft just came out with their new accessibility controller, which is designed for gamers with disabilities, all the way down to the packaging, which I thought was really fucking cool. That the entire thing could actually be unwrapped and unpacked one-handed. So I'm kind of curious. Let's hear some initial thoughts. I'm going to start with Josh.
Okay, so yeah, like it just seems like that Microsoft is really on board with getting more just gamers to play. Like whoever wants to play should be able to play. So I mean, that's like the accessibility controller is pretty awesome. Like you mentioned, it can be opened with one hand, basically open with your teeth if you wanted to.
Right.
I mean, it's a cool idea.
You're really if you're really what's the word I'm thinking of? Nimble and flexible, you could probably do it with your toes.
I'm sure you could. Yeah. I couldn't.
Somebody order me one of those. We're gonna do an unboxing, and I'm gonna try and open that shit with my feet.
With your toes. Yeah.
And now we gotta know if it's just doable. I'm really curious now.
And not only that, but that controller is actually so cool. You can plug in anything to it.
Yeah.
Any kind of button that that people already use, or controller, or anything really into there. So it is pretty cool that way. I just want to know how many people that are just using it for like another controller, like for their feet or whatever, you know. But it's cool. And Nintendo, I know Nintendo just, they want you to play a game in a certain way, and that just seems like it. My initial thoughts, I mean, I'm not really going too deep into it right now. I want to hear what Eddie has to say, but those are kind of my initial thoughts on it.
All right, and Eddie, give me some groundbreaking opening thoughts here.
I think there's a difference in when we talk about innovation and inclusive. Why people are bringing it up with Pokemon Let's Go, I have no idea. When the talk should have been, well, why when Xbox One and PS4 and even 360 and other consoles that came out, accessibility to disabled people were never a thought to be talking about. And now, like, are people now talking about this because of what Microsoft has done with their accessibility controller? You know, you got to kind of think definitely with Nintendo, they're thinking of all players, and unfortunately, sometimes disabled people are not part of. Not saying that they're not part of the focus, but when they're doing the research and development about the controllers and everything, they kind of think about how it works for a game and for that platform, for people who decided to pick it up and play. Nintendo is more kind of a toy company in a sense, and I think in Japan, we don't know. Just definitely in Japan alone, we don't know about disabled people and how that community is in Japan. Of course, we know some of it here in America, but we don't. We as some gamers, we don't never talk about it or even think about it. We find it cool when third party or other people are able to create these controllers for disabled people and be able for it to work on a platform. We really love that. But like when it comes to like Nintendo, they have always been focused on making that controller for that system and the type of games and ideas that they could put on. Unfortunately, disabled people are just not part of the thought process. And even when we look into Scarlet and we look into PS5, this discussion right here won't be brought up again. Because what disabled person is going to be talking about PlayStation 5 if they use the same controller? If Microsoft, of course, now with the accessibility controller, they'll be like, okay, cool, I'll be able to play that game. But are they going to be, talking about it and using it as part of their marketing when they do the next Inside Xbox, when they talk about Scarlet?
Probably not.
But... I mean, I would say it was good to see when they lined the people up at Forza and you saw one man playing on the accessibility controller. But if it's great that Microsoft made this controller, but they need to market it out to show that we are allowing people from everywhere to play our games. It's still kind of inclusive though, because it's set to play more of Microsoft games than it is to play Nintendo or PlayStation. Yeah, PC is fine because of Windows 10, but Microsoft still is marketing the system to play games on their console and their software. Their OS with Windows 10. So there's still some inclusiveness right there.
So I want to throw up a couple of counterpoints to Eddie here. One, a big reason that this is coming up now is because games like, or in particular, Pokemon Let's Go has left behind a large number of disabled gamers that have been, part of this franchise for 10, 15, 20 years at this point, because of the forced motion control now. With the catch mechanics, that's very upsetting to a number of these players that have been with this series and have loved this series passionately for a long, long time.
Mhm.
That hurts to be told, we're making a game in your favorite series, and guess what? You can't play it because we are so stubborn about the way that you have to play it. I mean, literally, that catch mechanic could have been replaced with a button press or a control stick motion. It did not have to be motion control only. They could have created an option.
But this is the thing
change.
about it. But this is the thing about it. You knew that was going to be included because that's part of the main thing of selling the Switch. When they first announced it, and they did the press conference of what the Joy-Con could be and including it in. Yes, it's upsetting to a lot of disabled gamers and stuff. But why is it just Nintendo in this game?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I mean,
it's not just this game.
I
this
mean, what
conversation's
about people
come up around Nintendo before?
I mean, what about people who are deaf and they want to play Tetris Effect and they wish they could play it in VR? They can't. Yeah, they could see it and play it in VR, but they miss out on the music. Should we get on Mizuguchi and them because they made it? They somehow didn't put some pulse rate and stuff on it.
Well, I think
the music isn't a necessity to be able to play the game, though.
But the thing about it is to get a full enjoyment of Tetris Effect and see why everybody is talking about it and liking it.
You have to hear it.
You have to hear it and stuff. So if deaf people can't hear it because it's a kind of a music style based game and they focus on the music with Tetris Effect and definitely with PSVR, they're excluded from it. So why is nobody talking about that?
That's the thing. They're not excluded. They're not getting, they don't have the ability to get the full experience, but they are not 100% excluded from being able to simply play the game.
I mean, they could still play it.
I mean, you can still play
Pokemon
it,
Let's Go is creating a full exclusion.
But
there's a fundamental difference.
But you knew that this was part of the Switch, though. That's the thing of what I'm saying is that the Joy-Con and this functionality has been a part of the Switch from the day they announced it. So you knew that Nintendo was going to include it. You knew that Nintendo was going to include. But you know it was going to be included. It had to be forced because they want to make you feel like a Pokemon trainer.
It didn't have to be forced. That's the thing. There are ways that they could have created it as an option.
But see, I think people
could turn motion control off.
I think
look at Mario Kart.
Lost.
Mario Kart, they could have forced the motion control, but they didn't. Motion control option in Mario Kart. This could have been an option in Let's Go. And instead, they took that choice away.
But they still could. I think, but who are the disabled people who can't play it then?
You've got all kinds of people that have any sort of like motor function disability that can't make those motion gestures.
But then there's a lot of games. But then there's a lot of games that are motor function that people can't play.
Well, and here's the other thing too, because like I said, I wanted to get back to this. It's not just this game. Nintendo has kind of been hounded about this before on numerous occasions, is that PlayStation and Xbox will let you remap the buttons on your controller at a root level so that it changes for every single game.
Right.
You know, even if there's no in-game controller options, you can still tweak the controls by way of changing that button mapping at the base level in the operating system. However, Nintendo typically does not put any button configuration choices into their game, and they sure as shit don't let you remap anything at the base system level either.
Because a lot of Nintendo games that come out doesn't need any remapping because it's
for you and me. No,
it's easier access to control stuff. People would learn how to play a game if they would just take the time and learn the mechanics. Don't forget, Nintendo breaks down things little by little, and they show you the control. They they challenge you with the control, and you'll be like, okay, I got it, I could go about it. And there's people who just pick up a game, don't care about reading some of the control mechanics, and will be like, well, what do I do with this game? And how do I play it? Well, if you skip the tutorials or anything, you want to understand what buttons to use for the controls and stuff. Now, if you want to remap a game controls, that's going to be up to the developer, who is developing that game. It's just not Nintendo. There's other companies. I understand that the focus is on Nintendo because of this discussion and some of their games, but there are some other stuff that you cannot remap controls. There's games that you're forced to play inverted. You can't do it any other way. You have to play inverted, or you can't play that game.
No, but we're talking about like remapping just buttons.
Right.
So like if I hit the A button on my controller, it reads as the B button.
But doing something inverted is also part of controls, because sometimes you could invert a control for a whole game, and they won't. And
right, and that's something that comes down to a personal preference. But something like button mapping for some people is an actual physical accessibility.
But that's the same thing with Nintendo games. That's a personal issue. If you want to remap the controls, that's something on you as the person. You know how Nintendo developed their games. You know how Nintendo delivers them and try to make them easier assets to play. What other games do you? I mean, what do you want Nintendo to do? Just to put it in a remapping thing, and then
hey, that would be a huge,
simple feature alone would be a big deal.
To whom? But to whom?
To a great number of disabled gamers that do need that ability,
like they
to
have
remap
a controller or
right.
Something that they use that they can't hold a regular controller.
Mm-hmm.
So playing a PlayStation or playing an Xbox game that has a bigger controller than Nintendo, they're excluded from this conversation because you're able to remap it. Even though that controller might be hard for them or kind of painful for them to play, they're excluded from this.
But they have third-party controllers that they can use.
But it's the same thing.
And they can still use it for like the Nintendo, but they might not be able to play certain games.
Just because they can't remap those buttons.
Right.
Okay.
It's something that should be super simple and rudimentary too. That way third-party developers don't even have to screw with it. Even if it's not there inside the game to, change your button config, because you can at least remap it at the system level. But
the thing about it is that if it's just only for disabled people who need this and everything, why haven't they stated up and said anything about it?
They have.
Where?
It's all over. All you gotta do is look.
But see, and that's the thing. Where this would be a bigger conversation if I seen more stories published about this.
I've seen tons.
I haven't seen anything.
You and I clearly read different places, which is good. But again, I'll send you some. I will, just so that way you can kind of take a look at it. But it is something that's out there. Because
my thing is this: is that when it comes to inclusive innovation, Nintendo is always ahead of the curve with innovation, and they always try to do something new that massive players are going to be kind of attracted to, be like, oh, that's a new way to play and go about a game. And does
innovation have to lead to exclusion?
Yes, it does. Because the thing about it is, it's going to happen that way. No matter what kind of controller that you are trying to make, it's going to be some inclusion. Sometimes you have to think about cost. If I have to pay $800 just because the game is not playable just because that game should be available to a disabled person, some people might have a problem with that being a budget. If there are costs into making a controller for some people, and there are costs definitely with Nintendo that they're trying to find out a way that they can make this accessible to consumers who are going to play this. Yes, there is probably a big game community in the disabled with disabled players, but the mass people who pretty much purchase a lot of Nintendo games, even PlayStation and Xbox games and PC games, are not disabled. So they're thinking about those people who are not disabled on how would this game to work. It's not intentional, but it's going to happen that way. Sony and Microsoft has not evolved their controllers, and they have always tried to be innovative with the cutting graphics and everything, but their controller has never evolved. There's inclusion right there, but nobody talks about it. That's what I'm saying. Their controllers are going to be the same way as it is when PlayStation 5 and Scarlet comes. It just now took Microsoft 3 whole systems to include disabled players.
But see, they heard the call for it.
But you know
that
what?
Demand is there.
But this is the thing about it.
They were just the first one to respond.
Microsoft should have been able to do this with the first Xbox. You are a PC company. You know how to make software and hardware. So you should have added technology, should have been able to do something with this by the time the first Xbox came out. But they did not. They waited until and not saying that this is a bad thing, because it isn't. It's good that they're having all players come onto it. But now that they have this out and everything, I would love to see Microsoft talk to Nintendo and see if something could work out to get an update where that system could work on. I would love for them to talk to Sony to get this game, this system, this controller to work on it. Because now that there's something in place, this is the first time, innovative-wise, that Microsoft has done anything. When has Microsoft ever did anything innovative compared to what Nintendo has done?
Oh, and it's not so much an issue of innovation, but like I said, inclusion. And, obviously, to kind of speak to your concern, obviously the demand is there because they did it.
But if we're going to have the discussion about inclusion and innovation, when you do innovation, it's going to be inclusive. It's going to be inclusive.
No, innovation is leading to exclusion, which is why this has come up.
When you do something innovative, some people are going to be excluded. Well, there's going to be some inclusion that you're not going to be able to play on this controller or anything, because we have a different mindset of this controller.
Josh, you had a pain to look a second ago.
Yeah. I think you're kind of missing the point, is that it's not about, it's just about the choice. The choice to be able to say, I want to play with motion controls or not. If they want to, why make it a mandatory thing that you have to play with motion controls? I mean, what's the big deal if they just said, hey, we're going to be able to play without motion controls too?
Because it's part of the experience that they are.
And I mean, immersion is fun, I think, but why should we exclude a whole group of people just because the motion controls they don't work for them?
Because it's part of their developer. The developer is thinking about the masses who are going to be playing this game,
and that's all good, because most people aren't even going to switch that. They're not even going to change that. But if you were a person that couldn't do the motion controls, like just imagine like if you couldn't use your left hand and you wanted to play games, so you just not be able to play games now forever?
I will still be able to learn how to play the games. I'll shoot. Just because I can't use my hand doesn't mean I can't use my arm. There's techniques that you have seen in fighting tournaments. People do the most craziest stuff.
Oh, I know,
to
like
fight.
The claw and everything and all that kind of stuff. But
folks have been using their teeth and somehow been able to use their teeth and chin for some unknown reason to beat dudes in fighting games. Crazy stuff. There's innovative ways to play a game, and I understand where you're coming from and everything. It's just that when you are innovating, there are going to be some inclusive things to it that you cannot change. Yes, let's go Pikachu and let's go Eevee. Just because you have to use motion control, the Pokemon Company decided that. Nintendo didn't decide that. The Pokemon Company has all rights and everything over making that decision. Nintendo doesn't. If the Pokemon Company wants to take the Pokemon away from Nintendo and put it on somebody else's system, they can. The Pokemon Company decided to do that, so it's not Nintendo's decision. They took the functionality of this is a kind of a simple game because you're not really doing anything. The exclusive thing that you're really doing is just throwing the Joy-Con to throw the Pokeball. That's one thing. What else is there to do with the Joy-Con? Let's go Pokemon Eevee.
Let me throw you in a different example here.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give you the counterpoint. Let's go back about a year or so. Let's look at ARMS.
Mm-hmm.
So, ARMS, fighting game, all about motion control and using those Joy-Cons to sit there and punch and duck and bob and weave, and I had a great fucking time with it. But guess what? If I can't do that motion control, I have the option to play just buttons and joystick.
Right. And guess who did? And guess who did? Guess who did ARMS? Nintendo did. Did the Pokemon Company do ARMS? No.
No, but Nintendo has enough sway in the issue to say that
they have enough sway. They have enough sway. But if an IP belongs to a different developer or a different company, they have the right to make a decision on how they're going to develop their game. That's the two different things about it. But Pokemon, like I said, the Pokemon Company has every right to do anything they want to with the Pokemon IP. Nintendo doesn't. If Nintendo wants to make a Pokemon game, they literally would have to design a whole new game and a whole new way that it plays. So then they could add Pro Controller or Joy-Con or Motion Controller. They could add all of that if they want to. Nintendo really doesn't have no say in the Pokemon games.
I'd venture to think they've got at least some sway.
Trust me, if Nintendo was able to say anything about the Pokemon game, that game would not be on mobile.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, they're still getting a big check from that too. So,
well, probably because it might be a contract thing. It might be something kind of exclusive deal.
Yeah, they only own. I think they're like 30% owners or something like that. So,
yeah.
However, they split that up.
Because even before Pokemon became kind of phones and stuff, the cards you could play literally on the PC. You can play the Pokemon cards on PC. And none of Nintendo's name is on the Pokemon cards. None of them.
You sure?
Yeah. It might be in some.
I feel like that's not right.
It might be in some of the small print in the back, probably like copyright and stuff, all of that, like when they write it. But none of Nintendo's name is on the Pokemon cards. Even the plastic, it's not on none of them. Compared to like if you look at Yu-Gi-Oh, you can see where it says Konami on there. Right. But it's not a Konami. It's not a Konami product. Yu-Gi-Oh is not a Konami product. But Konami on kind of the publishing or distribution rights, something like that. They own part of something with Yu-Gi-Oh in video game form and for cards.
But I don't know. My gut tells me though that if Nintendo had told them, "Hey, give us an option here,"
yeah. I mean, there are the platform.
It would have happened.
They are the platform holder, and it's a closed system. So I mean,
they're the platform holders, but they're not the owners. That's two different things. If someone owns an IP, they can have the option to put it on any platform they want to. Just because you're the platform holder doesn't mean anything. Microsoft, when they bought Minecraft, they didn't have to. They could have said, "Okay, what you guys got for Minecraft for the other systems before we bought it, you guys to keep that." But guess what? You're not getting no updates. If you really fully want the updates and stuff for Minecraft, you have to play it on 360 or Windows 10.
So I want to steer this a different way. I want to kind of take a look at the software side of this too, just in terms of game design.
Right.
Stepping outside of the controller issue and the physical dexterity issues. I'm kind of curious because one that stands out to me actually, that like one of my favorite games of the last several years. I remember after playing it thinking to myself, I got a friend of mine that would love this, but literally would not be able to 100% complete the game or get everything out of it because they're colorblind, and that's The Witness. The Witness has a large section of puzzles that are all color filter centric, and if you're colorblind and you can't differentiate, that makes it nigh fucking impossible. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that there are some of the puzzles in the mountain actually on the way to the finale of the game that are color specific as well. Right. Like some of the color filter puzzles that you'd have to get through that would make it impossible to complete the game if you're colorblind.
It used to, but there's technology out there now that will fix your color blindness. Like, I think it's some kind of glasses or something that when you put it on, it corrects your color blind. So that is a way. It might cost some money, but if you are into games and willing to work hard and save up and be able to buy those glasses so that you can play games like that way, that option is available.
Let me throw you another example in The Witness as well, too. Witness has several puzzles that are sound and pitch based as well. That, for those that are hearing impaired, that also becomes an issue of being unplayable and unsolvable.
But that's the same thing that I mentioned with Tetris Effect. Is that you could see it and you could play it, but to get the full experience, to hear the music, especially if you're playing the PSVR, you can't do it because you're not.
It's not the same though.
But it is.
Tetris Effect is still playable. You can still play the game.
You can still play it, but you're not getting the. But you're not getting the full.
Right,
you're not
you
getting
can still
the full
actually complete
and that's the
game.
And that would
With
be
The Witness. Those puzzles
that would be
uncompletable.
But then that would be that. Okay, I can't play Tetris Effect because of the music. Now I'm stuck playing Puyo Puyo Tetris, playing one mode because that's the only way that I'm going to get the true. I'm going to get the feel of Tetris, but I'm excluded out because I can't hear the music of Tetris Effect. There's a lot of things that
but the music doesn't stop you from being able to beat the game.
Well, but to get the experience. But to get the
full experience, sure.
Right.
But I'm talking about being able to actually at least complete the game. Can you complete the game?
For some people, they feel like they're being robbed of not getting that full experience because they can't hear the music. Tetris Effect was designed around the music with the PSVR added, with the VR added on. But this is from Mizuguchi. If you don't know Mizuguchi and what he's been about music and games. You can't play Luminous pretty much without hearing the music.
Right. No, I grant you. But I'll throw this out there. Provided, assuming I'm deaf, I'm probably not into music games, but I might enjoy puzzle games, stuff like Myst. To which I see The Witness and I think, hey, that looks pretty fucking cool. That's right up my alley. And then I end up, up against a puzzle that's sound and pitch based, and suddenly with no warning, I'm now sitting on a $40 game that I literally cannot complete.
But did you read any reviews or previews and stuff that talked about something like that to make sure what you're getting into?
But I doubt they would even highlight that in a preview or a review or.
I think they would.
I don't know.
It might get mentioned occasionally in some, but it's not something that's guaranteed.
I mean, if they mention anything music and sound puzzle based, that will give you indication. Okay, I can't play this because once you mix sound puzzles into it, I can't play it. If I know that I'm deaf, it's a puzzle game with different styles of puzzles. So let me read the review and make sure that if there is if there's stuff that's sound and puzzle, a sound puzzle in it, then I can't play it. You know, it's the same thing with people who don't have subtitles in games.
Mm-hmm. Which that's something that's come up recently too with the Spyro Reignited trilogy.
Yep. Yeah, they redid the whole thing. Why didn't they put in that that kind of stuff in?
Right. There's parts there's subtitles in that game, but not all the way through, including cutscenes where they're delivering information that is required to understand what the hell to do next. And when asked about it, the developer just kind of went, not a priority. I'm like, what kind of a dick move is that? Seriously, go finish the fucking subtitles.
Yeah.
Why would you only do half of them? Who does half of the subtitles?
It is Activision, so.
Yeah. They got their money already.
Right.
Jesus. But yeah, I mean, it's, again, it almost makes me wonder if there is something believe it or not, I'm gonna look to Pokemon as a trendsetter here in a positive light on this regard, because if you look at all the old Pokemon games, on the back of the box it says basic reading comprehension required to play this game. Should games that require things like The Witness, have something on there that this game has auditory only puzzles, or puzzles that rely exclusively on sound, or something like that, where this may be an issue for the hearing impaired.
Depending on how you're purchasing this game, they should tell you all of that's going to be in this game. If you're buying it digitally, when you're reading throughout the overview and what the game contains, that should be mentioned. When you're reading reviews or
should be mentioned, sure.
That should be mentioned.
But nowhere is it required. Nobody says they have to make mention of it.
To fully understand what you're getting, a lot of people would feel like it is required. You would think that if I'm a publisher that you believe, a publisher or developer that you believe in me and my games, I should make sure that you know the most information about this game when it comes out. So what puzzles and stuff that you're going to get, this is a list of puzzles that you're going to get, and sometimes it's going to have combinations of. I'm not just going to give you 3 different puzzles and then leave much more and then walk off the stage.
I'm going to throw just an internet culture question that's relevant then into the mix here. At that point, what about the issue of spoilers? If you're saying that everything has to be on the box, how do we avoid the spoilers?
The spoilers are easily available. You just don't go to them. You don't look it up. My thing is, with spoilers, you're going to get the game and you're going to experience as much as you can before you start reading comments and looking forward to stuff. And there are people who are now saying spoiler alert. They're letting you know that this is a big spoiler. Sometimes you could disconnect yourself from the internet and be like, guys, I would not be around to talk to you because I'm playing this game. But look at Breath of the Wild. Didn't folks get off the internet for a month or two playing Breath of the Wild because they did not want to be spoiled? Adrian yelled at us, me and Larry, that we couldn't say nothing about Breath of the Wild. He couldn't listen to the.
We were talking about shit that wasn't even spoilers, Adrian.
Right. But people would do that to keep themselves away from spoilers.
Right, and everybody's definition of spoilers is different. But like I said, my question comes to the fact that if you have to list everything that's in there on the box, Does that then run
to
the risk
list you have to list what you're getting. You don't have to list everything that's in. You don't have to list each and every bit about the game. You don't have. You can say a little bit about the plot and what the game is going to be leading up to. Like, will you find Mary, or does Mary contain a secret? That's all you pretty much have to say. You have to play the game to get that answer. They're not going to drop everything for you. They're going to tell you what you're going to experience. Like, there's co-op play, there's 8 stages, 5 bosses, power-ups, sound puzzles, color puzzles, shoot 'em up, beat 'em up style gameplay. They're going to tell you stuff like that. They're not going to be like, well, and then this is the ending of the game. Who will want the game then?
So, I had a second. I had a
think
thought.
Would innovation actually change this? Like, if somebody really truly innovated on a control scheme,
No.
made it different.
No. Nintendo has been, like I said, Nintendo has been innovating things for years, and it still hasn't fixed the problem. Because
Is it really innovation, or is it just like changing it up like how they normally would do it?
It's innovation. It literally is innovation.
I mean, the Switch is probably the first real innovation in controls. I mean, it kind of combines the Wii with it combines a lot of things together.
Nintendo has been innovative way back with the Super Nintendo controller. Putting those 6 buttons on there, putting analog control with the N64 and the Rumble Pack, doing the Wavebird correctly, putting the 4 ports on the GameCube with the mini disc, the Game Boy Color, Game Boy
Correction,
Light.
4 ports goes back to 64.
Yeah, all the way.
Yeah.
That is true. Well, actually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Let's go to the N64. I was going to say the multi-tap on a Super Nintendo.
Or regular.
Yeah, original Nintendo had a multi-tap.
But built into the system, it would be N64. But hooking up the Game Boy, hooking up your Game Boy Advance to your GameCube, where we had the Super Nintendo and then the Super Game Boy, but that's 2 different things.
Like, 64 had the transfer pack, by the way,
which I never was able to see. I could never find that.
Dude, I had one.
Weird. But Nintendo, with each of their console, has been innovative, have always been trying to do different things with the controllers that's going to fit their games, and everybody else can take that controller method and work around it or do whatever they want to design. Sony has had the same controller, and Microsoft has had the same controller ever since those companies have came out. When have they innovated anything? And on top of that, they've been trying to outdo Nintendo ever since the Wii came out.
Mm-hmm.
The motion controls they tried to do. When Wii U came out, Sony tried to do it with the PS Vita, with the screen, and Microsoft tried to do it with Smart Glass. When has Nintendo, like I always say, when has Nintendo ever tried to do anything that the other 2 systems are trying to do? Nintendo has always been ahead of the curve and always has tried to be innovative.
This kind of gives me a thought here. This is kind of rumbling around in my head for a minute or 2 now. It makes you wonder if there is a database out there, or somebody that keeps a running list going of games that are friendly to those with disabilities, or puts out there, says, hey, for those with this disability, this might be an issue for you in this game, or you may have an issue with this game, kind of thing, being able to play it. I really wonder if somebody keeps a running list of that.
I think so. Yeah.
And I think this
If
is a
not,
relatively
I
new
think
issue.
somebody should.
Relatively new issue, because even with like all these old systems, you can hook up other controllers to them. You can, you can play the games even without a gimmick, quote unquote. Like, you can play all Nintendo 64 games without a Rumble Pack.
Yeah.
You don't need it to complete the game. So if that was an issue, you don't have to. So I mean, I would think this would be relatively new within the last few years with the advent of motion controls versus
Standard,
standard, and like Connect, was a
Button-based.
big win for a lot of people with disabilities because you didn't need a controller.
Right.
Just
Then
didn't
they weren't given the high quality that Connect should have delivered.
Right. No, I totally agree that the games just weren't there.
There were a few good ones.
Because even though Connect is for disabled gamers, people in wheelchairs they can't play Dance Central because that deserves to use your whole body or just
right. And I mean I don't know if I have no idea. I don't know if there are people that want to play that. I mean, I'm thinking there's got to be an option for them to play that in some way with some kind of control scheme.
No, you have to. When you play Dance Central on Xbox, you had to use the Kinect, and that was forced. And then nobody talked about that.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying that with Let's Go Pikachu, it's just like you knew what you're getting into when Nintendo showed off the system. The Pokemon Company decided to make that. I think it may be, it's hard for people who can't use their wrist to throw it. That's inclusive, and yes, that sucks. I mean, but it would be good. It would be cool that if they did touch functionality where you could just slide it to catch them, if that was an option for it, then I can understand. That would fix the motion control problem.
Or even just like a joystick motion.
Right.
Yeah. And
I think it should have been an option included.
It's definitely a question. It's a problem with it's more nuanced than just, you have to get to the root of why they just choose. I mean, people have highlighted it before with Pokemon Go for the last couple of years that, hey, this is a motion control only. And they said, okay, but then they still do it.
Right. And maybe there is a way with an update that the Pokemon Company can fix this. Maybe they could say, we updated where now we're adding the functionality of you being able to touch and move the Pokeball. So now that inclusion goes away. There's ways to fix it now. So
I don't see why they can't just add like a patch and you can just have standard controls. I mean,
and I think I think if people did surveys or they talk to or try to get the attention of the Pokemon Company some way to say that, hey, we want to really play it, we really want to buy the game, but because we're disabled, we're not able to do this because we can't flick our wrist like this.
And that's what we're saying, I think, is that's like, give us the option, give them the option to play. It's not like, I understand if you're saying that that's the way they developed it and that's the way they want you to play. Okay, fine.
And that's
okay.
That's why I said because it's such the Pokemon Company is such a Japanese company,
right?
If there was a big disability was a big thing in Japan, and that kind of affected Nintendo and Sony, even Microsoft, I think that situation would have been addressed earlier. But because we don't know the stats about disability in Japan, then we know here in America or even in Europe, in Australia, I think if there was something to be known about that, maybe that would change how gaming and controls and innovation works.
I'd just like to say I'm pretty sure somebody in NPR has those stats.
I'm sure somebody somewhere has them.
Right.
I'm convinced it's somebody at NPR.
My whole thing is with gaming so expensive too. Like the game development so expensive. Why would any developer want to exclude any people from playing their game?
Because they look at the market of the people who are buying.
I know, but I'm saying like you're not going to get 100% of those people to buy that game anyway. So why would you exclude any group of person from playing your game when it just generates revenue for you?
Well, it's because it's not, like I said, it's not intentional, but because of the people who are developing it, there may not be much talk about disability people buying games. And if more stories would come out or documentaries, if more work about disability happening not only in America but in Europe and Japan and Australia and and Canada or whatever Nintendo or video games are sold that affects disabled people, if more stuff came to the forefront and a lot of companies took notice of it, that could be a big change. So that when they go into making their next controller or their next game, they know that, hey, we did this, but now we're including it because we don't want to exclude our disability fan base of our games. So now we want to make sure that we include them. So we added this option. But if no one talks about it and the developers don't know about it, what are they supposed to do? They're thinking about just creating a game and getting it out to the masses for people who love that series.
Well, and something else too, I want to throw in, throwing back to an episode from well over a year ago now, with Daniel Goffin. One of the things I thought was really fascinating was when he was talking about going through development and actually including in his development process a set of tools to, She Remembered Caterpillars is a puzzle game that is very color necessitated, but also using a set of tools so that he could skin it in development and understand how somebody with varying degrees of color blindness would view this game and be able to do something to make it readable to those with color blindness, so that even though yes, at face value it's very color centric in those puzzles, that even if you can't see or distinguish those colors, that there are other ways to convey that information outside of just color, by way of like shapes or patterns or something like that as well. And that, just the simple fact that that tool is available for developers, should we be pushing to have more tools be made readily available to developers to help them make their games more accessible to those with disability?
That's where testing comes in. I think a lot of teams need someone disabled to go through this development, so that people who can relate to some of the disabled stuff that hinders them from playing the game, they'll be able to get access to it because they have someone on their team to understand it. That's why it's important for when you don't think about stuff like that, when you take your game to PAX or you take your game to some Comic-Con kind of conference or something, and you try to get anyone and everyone to play your game. You try to make sure that, hey, I would love to go to a hospital and see if I can get some people to play this game, so that I have information on how to fix this and be able to add to it. So maybe it might not be in the first part of the development, but if I have enough people who buy this game when it originally come out, maybe I'm able to add that functionality and fix it. Or if I do have someone on the team, they're able to help me develop this game. And now the way that I was developing it may have changed, but it's to make the game better because it doesn't exclude anyone.
Well, I think we've prattled on long enough, so I'm going to throw it over to Eddie for final thoughts first, and then Josh.
There's, like I said, there's always going to be inclusive, but with video games, we don't think about it, and when we think about innovation, Nintendo does its best to be innovative and be forward-thinking when they're designing their systems, designing their controllers, even designing their games. Just because button mapping is not in all games that certain companies make, it doesn't hinder you from playing a game. I'm not talking about disabled people. I'm just talking about people who want custom design, but custom built buttons and stuff. Control. It doesn't hinder you from playing with it. Sometimes you just have to skin, grit, and bear it and just go for what is intended. You might not like it, but if you are a big fan of that series or a big fan of that company and you want to support them and you do buy the game, you just got to adjust yourself to the control. And as always, you can play a game on easy and beat it on easy if you don't like the controls, to say that you still got the same experience.
And Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of my final thoughts, kind of wrap up my whole thoughts on it, are I just don't know. I just don't think people are aware of the problem as well. That I think they might be aware of it, but they're not aware to what degree it is. And it should be, we shouldn't really look to exclude anybody from video games. I think, and I honestly feel that true innovation on video games would be to let everybody have the option to play. So to me, that would be like my two biggest thoughts. I think if we really innovate in the video game space, it should be anybody that wants to be able to play games should be able to.
Yeah. I'm of the mindset that I think, unfortunately, most innovation tends to lead to exclusion of some form or another at the outset, and with time, it's something that will get addressed, and it will be addressed in order of number of by demand, really. So if a new innovation leads to the exclusion, results in the exclusion of two different groups, I think with two different issues in terms of problem with it. Obviously, I think the group with the larger of the two groups with an issue is going to get their issue resolved first. That being said, I think we've got a, I don't even want to call it decent, but at least a basic start to helping disabled gamers stay with the passion that they love, gaming, with some of the fundamental basics like system level button mapping, Microsoft's new accessibility controller, development tools like what Daniel was using with She Remembered Caterpillars, and more. But I do think that there needs to be more, and that we definitely shouldn't stop, because we still have a long ways to go. So with that final thought, I think that puts us in a good place to call it a night. So again, as always, find us at our home on shoutengine.com, at least for the time being. Of course, like I said, we'll keep you updated if and when that changes. That should be coming in the next couple weeks. But you can also, of course, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play Music. Check out the Under Construction YouTube and Twitch channel. YouTube channel, by the time you hear this, is going to have a brand new unboxing of the Thumper Special Edition from Limited Run Games. You can also, we also highly recommend that you like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. And with that, that's it for us for this week. So everybody say goodnight, Gracie. Not all at once, you.
Good night, everybody.
We'll see you guys next time on World War I Podcast. Bye.
Peace.